please subscribe, hit that like button, and as always, leave a comment, and thank you for enjoying the video.
Shot to right, slicing toward the pesky pole, down the line, and it's going to be out of here! Line down the right field line toward the pesky pole, leaping up, and that ball is gone! That's a home run! A lot of our Nesson team as well. High fly down the right field line, headed toward the pesky pole, that one tucked in, and that ball is going to be against the wall, and into second base. Number retired, and now Rafael Devers trying to retire that baseball inside the pesky pole.
Welcome to another episode of the Pesky Podcast. I am back being your host, The Ritt. With me, like always, who did a superb job last week, George. I want to sit there and say thank you for holding down the fort last week. That last weekend, those 3 or 4 days were possibly some of the worst I've been through for quite some time, being sick. But George, thank you. How the hell are you, my man?
I'm doing fine. Just glad you're doing okay. Team effort, brother. You know that.
Yeah.
But glad you're doing better because you were definitely down for the count.
So, man, I can't wait for this. What we're gonna be talking about. Not a lot of Red Sox news, as in additions and stuff. But dude, watching some videos about spring training down there, it kind of makes the whole thing go away. You know what I mean? It's just, some really happy thoughts, happy places, and it's just getting back to watching these guys and watching these kids, get back to work and putting in the time. What are you thinking?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was watching some video. Was it Wednesday? And they were doing PFPs. I'm like, dude, I'm excited about this. I actually get to see a baseball get thrown someplace. Yeah, it's been a really long time. So yeah, I'm excited. Kind of, see what they're all about. See if they're going to do anything, while spring training is going on. And in general, just, I'm going to be really interested in see what I see when they start throwing, in live games in spring training. I want to see what Andrew Bailey is bringing to the table. So.
And that is just moments, less than a week away.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for ourselves. Let's sit there and play this quick 16-second clip, with the guys over some spring training. Just watching the boys there, you know what I mean? Kind of sit there and, put things into perspective, getting the mechanics, getting back in motion. But George, before we get into spring training, let's back up a little bit. Did you get a chance to check out the thing that was on MLB.TV? And that's not a cheap plug for you guys. With Trevor Story. And,
I did.
He held a little camp there. I was surprised about the talent that showed up there. What did you think about the little? It's like a 7-minute video. I got to really know some of the kids.
Yeah, it was. I thought it showed a lot about who Story is. I mean, right off the bat, he gave credit to wanting to do here what Tulowitzki did for him and the younger players in the Colorado system when he was coming up.
Exactly.
He thanked Tulo at least a half a dozen times in that video. And then, to see him interact with the younger players and, and just kind of like, he was trying to lead them, but at the same time, very understated, talked about, especially when he was working with Grissom, he's probably going to be his second base partner. And, he kind of like that, easy interaction that went along with it. And then, when he talked to York about, hey, have you talked to Petey before?
Exactly.
And, that whole thing. And it was nice to see Hamilton included in that because, God knows the kid can run, and is absolutely incredibly fast. his defense is supposedly okay. The big thing with him is, can he hit? But it was nice to see him included in that. And then, to see the big dog over at first base, he looks entirely different. The baby face is gone. He's got the full beard now. That's pretty cool. And then, then do the stuff off the field. They went and played golf. They shot the basketball around. That's bringing guys together. And I think that's key. They don't have Turner anymore, who's kind of like the head man in the clubhouse, and rightfully so. He had the most service time. But I think, two things this accomplishes. One, Story is, it's finding his way to give back. This is the third year of his contract. The first two have not gone well. Sporadic, signs of goodness in the first year. He was out most of the season and came back and resurrected the defense in the second half of the season here. But, he wants to put a full campaign together and show that he does have value. And one of the ways he does that is, hey, you young guys, this is what it takes to be a pro. Learn from me. Your time will come. I thought it was well done. And for a 7-minute video, it was like, wow, that went by quick. So,
yeah, I loved how, like you said with Yorkie, coming in there, and he's our second baseman, but now he's kind of got Grissom there blocking him in a way. But it also kind of you kind of get that, getting to know each other, get a combination flow. That shortstop and second base, they have to know each other very, very well. For years, when Xander first came up when he was young, him and Petey worked very well together. It's like you take your half the diamond, I take my half the diamond, and we'll cover everything in between. I seen how he was working with Grissom a lot, and giving him great advice. Casas seems to me like he doesn't care where he's at. He just wants to play ball. He showed up the rookie camp.
Yep.
He played in the fall ball leagues. He's been doing personal training, by himself. He went to Trevor Story's camp. So it just shows to me that he wants to be the complete all-around player that he needs to be for this team and for the future. A lot of people, George, looking on paper. Okay, let's look at and break down a little bit real quick. Last year's team versus this year's team, and we're going to go around the bases, and kind of like a fair or foul segment where do you think we improved from last year? So Connor Wong behind the plate last year, Connor Wong behind the plate this year, but we had different people calling, like Feebles ain't there now. We have a different coaching staff in place. So do you think that's an upgrade where they can sit there and work a little bit better with him behind the plate than last year? Because last year when McGuire went down and we had Alfaro there, and some of the lack of defensiveness, what do you think of catcher?
I think catcher. I think you're okay. I mean, Connor Wong is a good defensive catcher, no doubt about it. He can hit. He's built like an infielder, not a catcher. Okay, and the other thing is he can run. I mean, and really run, not like run like a catcher. He's got some decent speed. I think anytime you have Jason Veritek sitting in the dugout, whoever the catcher is benefits from that. The other thing is they suddenly have some good quality backup that has some major league service time in the minors, right? So, they have that to fall back on. My feeling on our current backup catcher. As excited I was to see what Alfaro could do, which was nothing. It's time. It's time for McGuire to go. They just need somebody to back him up. But I think for now, knowing the Teal's coming, if not next year, not the end of this year, but certainly next year, Connor Wong is your guy. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as an everyday catcher, he's not going to kill you. He's just not going to be the top of the league either. So I'm okay with it because I think Bailey's going to help him too.
Yeah. If you can work on your pitching, if you can work on your defense, you can work with your catcher to frame the ball better. All of a sudden, that makes the game a little bit easier for you. So I'm going to sit there and agree with you. We're say push at catcher. Not any worse, but a slight possibility to be better. So Tristan Casas, first base. So he's got a full year under his belt now, George. And he's showed what he could do in the second half with his bat. But the defense, did he put in enough work? And for us to actually say it's going to be an uptick this year.
That's the big thing. I mean, you always worried about second-year players. Do they go into the so-called sophomore slump? Mm-hmm. I don't see it with him. I think for particularly at the plate, he did his best imitation of Petey. A rough first 6 weeks of the season, and then got shot out of a cannon. You're right. Where he needs work is at first base. He certainly showed that he's working out and he's getting his body ready. The big thing is, what have the Red Sox done with him with respect to his footwork around the bag? The one thing that used to just drive me crazy was getting off the bag. Okay. If you think the throw's going to go by you, and God knows he had enough time last year to see those with Kike at short. Mm-hmm. Get off the bag. Okay. Don't let it get behind you if it can possibly help, because runners advance on stuff like that. If he starts to improve in that, and he's a work in progress, I think he'll become an average defensive first baseman. Right now, I put him just a little bit below average, but all on the whole, I think he slightly improves this season, or in his overall play. He'll probably hit more bombs this year, and he'll have more opportunity to drive in runs as well. So,
yeah, Cora already said that he's going to let him go against lefties and righties. That so we're going to sit there and see. It's make or break for him. I'm going to say this season we're going to have a slight uptick at first base production. So that's where I'm at. I honestly think with a better defensive play around the infield, it's going to be less time for Casas to have to think. And I think that might be, I think his baseball memory and his, I think that's his problem, where he doesn't remember certain things, and he's a little bit slower behind doing so. So I honestly think that Casas, with Trevor Story being there the full season and running that infield the way it should be, I think we're going to see something different. And, I can't wait till we talk about Trevor Story, because I don't think it's just going to be Casas he helps out, but I think it's the man that was right also, where he keeps his head in the game, kind of like Xander used to, forget about the last play. We're on the next play. You know what I mean? So, George, let's go to second base. Now, last year we had, a plethora. We had Reyes at some times. We had Valdez at some time. We had Urias for some time.
Yep.
Kike
played a couple of games.
Kike played
a couple of games. It was like a revolving door over there.
Yeah. So now this year, we got it down to, in my opinion, it's either Vaughn Grissom or it's Reyes, 100% second base. So instead of having to worry about it's hard to get a rhythm, when every 2 to 3 days we're having somebody switch over. So what are your thoughts around the horn, Vaughn Grissom and possibly Reyes, maybe even Valdez, compared to last year's, rotation?
Grissom is an athlete, Okay. They thought he projected as a shortstop in Atlanta. He really didn't. They think he'll be a better second baseman. Most of the experts you talk to think that he's probably a second baseman moving forward in his career, perhaps even an outfielder at some point. There's been some talk of third base as well. Given his athletic ability and given the fact that he's already decided that he's going to go all out to prove that Boston did the right thing to come here. He goes to Story's camp. Story works with him. I think he'll benefit from that. I think your overall second base play should get better, okay? Because it was a revolving door. I mean, my God, it was horrible. I think if he doesn't, if he sputters a little bit, I think you'll see Reyes over there, and that's fine. Okay. Defensively, Reyes
Vaughn Grissom has 3 times he been sent down to the minor, 3 options.
Right. He's got 3 options, so he's good.
I honestly don't even think we should even have him start in MLB. Start on the roster for the opening day. Let him get the at bats down there. Let him get some reps. Let him get consistency down there, AAA, and then bring him up. That would be my theory that I would want to do. But so let's go to over to Trevor's story. We had Kike last year, and then once Story was back, a bat will always take longer coming off the IL to come back to you over your glove. And his glove was there, and we needed it desperately. So that's where he's going to be the leader of the infield. He's going to command respect. And now this is where he's going to be shown, okay, you paid me this money. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring these guys together. I'm going to bring this young core up with me, and we're going to get better together. If they can get better defensively over last year in the infield, where a lot of errors happen, that whole side over there, shortstop, third base, was horrendous. So if he can help, Devers, you worry about closer to third. I've got this area.
Right.
You know what I mean? Then Devers doesn't have to worry about rushing up and doing those stupid plays. Oh, I'll barehand it. No. Glove it. Glove it, chest, boom, out. You know what I mean? And I see Trevor Story said it in the video at his camp many, many times. Stay low. Like when you transfer the ball, you stay down there, and then you whip it over. You don't have to. That way, the ball rises up, gives Casas a little bit easier target to know which way it's coming, and that's how you start winning games. You get a nice flow like that. So I think definitely our shortstop upgraded last year. Trevor Story, I'm saying comeback player of the year 2020. He's going to get 20 runs, 20 steals, I'm saying. So George, what are your thoughts? Is it an improvement at second base, at shortstop?
Yes, and first I want to apologize to all the listeners out there and my readers who heard me say last year that Kike Hernandez was going to be fine at shortstop. I humbly apologize for that. I was horribly wrong. No, Trevor Story is a great defensive shortstop. Okay, proved that time and time again when he played for Colorado. He proved it as soon as he stepped on the field. We get back. The defense got 100% better when he took there. You're right. He's going to help Devers. Devers will probably have 5 feet less to range. Okay, that's huge. All right, that means he's got a narrow window to go. He can concentrate on that. All right. Nobody's ever. We'll get to him in a little bit, but that's going to help. The other thing is, that when Trevor Story throws the ball, he's going to hit Tristan Casas in the chest, so he's not going to have to go stretching his big frame all over the place to try to get the ball. He knows how to turn the double play. He's good. Whoever's playing second base, he will make him better because for the season he played second base for us. He learned a new position. So he's got that mindset in him that says, look, I'll help the guy next to me on both sides.
He had Pedroia helping him convert to second base.
Right.
Who else would you rather have to learn, second base than from him?
No, I mean, and he's not too proud to ask either. And you saw that when I mentioned it earlier when he talked to you. Hey, have you talked to Petey? That's huge. And yeah, he offensively, he didn't come until very late in the season last year, and he really didn't get any at bats. And you come up when you play in the minors coming up, you're just trying to get some kind of timing. And he rushed himself. He probably could have used another couple of weeks in the minors to get his bat timing down, but they were trying to stay in it, and he was just trying to get back.
But he was crushing the ball down there in the minors.
Oh yeah.
So it was, and he was down. I honestly think that because he was in Portland, that they should have gave him a week or two up in for the AAA team.
Right. I think they were trying to keep him close. Okay, to see how he was reacting. I forget what the schedule was. I think the reason why he started in Portland was because Worcester was out of town. And I think the brass wanted to see what he was looking at.
Oh, well, yeah. Worcester was out of town because they were down playing Scranton at the time. I know that.
Yeah, you see, there you go.
And we had three people.
You thought they were coming. You're all excited. I remember.
Yeah. We had three people on the IL doing rehab assignments there. Christian Arroyo was down there. Man,
who else was
someone else.
There was Chang down there too at the same time.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yu Chang was down there, and then there was a pitcher down there too. So it was kind of hard, So, but so far we've got a push at the catcher. I said slight uptick at first base. You said push. Second base, we both went up.
Yep.
Shortstop, we both said up. Now let's go over to the third base. I've already been on record to stay. Gotta stick with it now. Gotta ride or die. Devers is on for an AL MVP type performance. I honestly think he's not batting second this year. I think they're going to move him back to third, give him a little protection, give him a little more people on base too.
Mm-hmm.
So Devers and my issue, and talking to Steve Ferrari, talking to Mike Carista and stuff, Devers needs to learn how to know his new role and be more selective at the pitches that he does get. Make him go into a 2-strike count, and now bring him in. He's too much of a liability on 2 strikes.
Yes.
I used to remember. I used to love watching like Uke. I remember Uke doing a 19 pitch at bat. And he's like, nope, gonna wear you down. Nope, gonna wear you down. And he got a walk out of it. But that's 19 pitches to one batter in an inning.
Yeah.
Like you're wearing that pitcher down, and you're getting him frustrated.
That's an inning's worth of work.
Exactly. If Devers can be a little more selective on what he does, and at a 2-strike count, if he can sit there and know, 2-strike count, I'm not going to swing if it's here, but it could be a little bit better for him. What are you thinking, George? Do you think Devers has the ability to go forward?
I do. Offensively, he's due for a mammoth season. Okay. Wouldn't be surprised if he hits between 35 and 40 home runs, knocks in. And I think you're right. Putting him in the third hole is the best spot for him. He will drive in more runs that way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
120, 125 perhaps. Okay. Look, and I'm going to go old school on you. Nobody will ever confuse Rafael Devers with Brooks Robinson at third base. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Your goal is to have players around him, like a Story, that can kind of limit where he has to move to and try to keep his head in the game. My thought is that if you can get him to serviceable, you're doing well. Okay. In 3 to 4 years, Rafael Devers is going to be a full-time DH because he doesn't have the skills to bring his defensive game up. And at a certain point, the serviceable is only going to go so far. He's going to begin to go the other way. Okay. So for the next 3 to 4 years, the Sox are going to have to make sure that that they can cover for him when they need to, let his offense carry, because God knows he's got the bat of the century. I mean, he can knock the lights out. And I want to see him go the other way, and he can drive balls out of the ballpark the other way. He just hasn't tried. But yeah, I think you get a much better offensive performance this year. I think if the Sox can, move him back in the order to 1 to 3, from 2 to 3, and he gets more chances to drive in batter runners. So hey, I think you get a definite uptick with him this year.
Now here, this next is what we're going to be talking about, is where I feel will be one of our biggest hurts at the DH spot.
Yeah.
Alex Cora already said that Yoshida was probably going to be the DH most of the year. And last year we had JT. Now, JT, you had the leadership. You had the, I'll play first. At his age, he's what, 38?
Yep. 37. Yeah, I'm 38. Yeah.
He played second base too. He played the end of the season, the last month of the season, with a hurt, was it a foot, Achilles, something like that?
It's something with his heel. Yeah, he was limping around for the last 5-6 weeks of the season.
So, man, like I don't get where the Red Sox are like, okay, Yoshida's our DH now. So instead of improving his stamina, get him implemented to, okay, every Monday is not a day off like over in Japan, so that he does not burn out. We're just going to be like, okay, you just keep doing you, and we're going to put you at DH so you don't have to work as hard. That's not a reward to me. That's not putting production in with me. You have to, okay, at the end of the year, you tanked out. You lost gas. You had no gas left in the tank at all. So what do you do in the offseason to improve? You don't reward him by, okay, well, we're going to sit there and put you in as a DH spot. Okay, look, in the outfield, do we have somebody that can take over his spot more comfortably? Possibly.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But at the DH spot, I think it's a big hit from last year to this year. JT's numbers were astronomically great. So, George, what about you?
Yeah, you lose power for sure. Okay. Your DH was from the right side of the plate last year. Okay. You haven't totally lost it out of the lineup, because he was the everyday left fielder last year, but you lost. You have to find balance someplace else. And as far as the endurance thing goes, you're right. I don't know what they did to fix that. He goes home to Japan. I don't know what his workout regimen is. It's not like players in the States where you can, quickly hop a flight and go see somebody or whatever. He's a tremendous hitter. And I think what we saw last year, I think plays this year. He's going to have 15, 16, 17 home runs. He's going to drive in somewhere between 60 and 80 runs. Not blessed with great speed, but can run the bases okay. He was an adequate left fielder last year. Okay. And then that's okay. I mean, some of the reports coming out into when he showed up last year was he's going to be a god-awful left fielder. He wasn't. He was okay, And he learned, he tried, he learned off to play, especially at Fenway. He didn't play the wall that badly. Whatever. I don't know what the Red Sox were trying to do. I wonder if they were trying to move him off this season, saying, hey, listen, you can get you somebody who hit you close to 300, and these are his stats. I think they saw the less than two-dimensional player that he is. I don't know. I think they want some stability there, and they feel if he isn't running around the field, maybe he can last a little bit longer. Again, I think we can talk about this at the All-Star break, and I may have a different feeling, but yeah, I'm not so sure they did themselves any favors.
Okay, so we're both on the board that it's a massive downgrade at the DH spot.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's go out to left field. Now, last year you just talked about him, George Yoshida. You said that he was an adequate arm out there, but this year we're probably going to be seeing Tyler O'Neill out there. One half or 1/3 of the Smash Brothers out there. So let's talk about him. Do you think that what you're seeing or what you could see from Tyler O'Neill out there is an upgrade from last year's Yoshida?
Yes. He's a very good defensive outfielder, number one. He's a right-handed hitter, number two. And, I expect that he will do his best to put some serious dents in the Green Monster. But yeah, he overall is a much better defensive player. He can play the corner. He can play center field. A little younger version than Adam Duvall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And yeah, defensively, he would be better in left field.
Okay. So
and hitting wise, he probably hit with more power.
Yeah. I can see O'Neill batting like fifth, and be okay with it. Yeah. We're talking about a lineup. After we're done, but I can see him batting fifth. With that right-handed bat. I'm going to say it's going to be a slight upgrade, but not much, just because I'm worried about his longevity, his health. So I will sit there and say it's a slight upgrade. Defensively, I think that his arm will be able to be an upgrade.
Yes.
From Yoshida, but his health, his health, could he be worse than Yoshida? Would you rather have somebody that gets injured a lot, or would you rather have somebody that doesn't have enough gas in the tank? That's kind of the same thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at. So let's go to center field. Now, last year we had started with Duvall, and then we got a real quick. We changed gears, and it's kind of like you're driving a fast car that you think's fast. A nice Dodge Challenger. Then all of a sudden you get a flat tire, and your rental is a Lamborghini. And we switched up and we got Jaron Duran real quick, So we had Duvall and Duran last year, and AC's already on the books saying he wants to see Cedone Rafaela play center. So
I'm with AC. I really am.
Okay.
I saw him play in Portland. That kid can track down a fly ball. Okay. Mm-hmm. He hits it. He's that natural center fielder, knows where it's going to go, takes the right route. Okay. Got a good arm to boot. All right. I mean, remember he came up as a shortstop too.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's got the arm. He tracks beautifully. Okay. I saw him the last time I saw him play. It was right before he got promoted to Worcester. Go get a fly ball in the outfield with the best of them. Mm-hmm. I know that Duran played really well when he came up. In the back of my mind, I still see the 2022 Duran. He doesn't take good routes to the ball. Okay. His arm is okay. I don't know if, we saw the best of him last year. And that's why, and I pray that Judd doesn't edit me out of this portion because I know he's a huge Durant fan. I wonder if we saw the best of what he could be, and is it the opportunity to sell high on him? I just defensively, Sine Raphael is just head and shoulders above what Jaron Durant is as an outfielder. And if you can deal with that, if you can deal with just learning to hit major league pitching a little bit, he's got speed. The two of them together. I mean, line them up. Okay, him and Story and Raphael is Story and Durant. And let's bring up David Hamilton and set it to a foot race.
Yeah. Right.
I'd like to have them all on my relay, on my 4x relay team for sure. But I'm with AC in this. Defensively, you got to put them out there.
Yeah, man, that's tough. So in my mind, if AC is already saying Raphael is your center fielder, defensively, I think it could be an improvement because Durant doesn't have the footwork of a center fielder. So that there could be a benefit. Numbers wise, I think you might lose some home runs, but I think you get your stolen bases and your batting average up a little bit from center field. I'm going to call it a push for myself. I'm going to say it's a push.
Yeah.
But here's the big one, right field. Now, how he left was not, but you can't take away what he did for the season. So, what's going on, Aziz? We're talking about right now. George and I are going around to compare last season's Red Sox team to this season's potential Red Sox team, and we're trying to see if they're at each position is if they're better than last year, worse than last year, or if it's a push. So right now, what we're just summing up and finishing this up right now with right field. Last year we had Verdugo, and I still say he got snubbed for a Gold Glove. He saved so many runs against us. This year, I don't. If we're putting Cedane Rafaela, nope, we're talking baseball this year. This time on the Pesky Podcast. Usually on BSEN, we have 4 or 5 different sport podcasts to cover each. Foxborough Fellas podcast is the one that covers the New England Patriots, but right now we're talking about the Boston Red Sox. So, but overall, I think that we, the runs he saved, the clutch moments, last year, it's kind of hard. But if we're putting Rafael in center, that means, are we putting Durant in right field?
No.
Are we putting Abreu in right field? Like, which one are we putting in right field? So
I think if you move Durant to left field, I think he'll be okay. Right field, if you can't handle center field, taking good routes, right field's going to kill you. Okay. Abreu played some right field last year. By all accounts, I thought he did okay. I think O'Neill could be your everyday right fielder. Okay.
You don't think Tyler is going to be in left?
No. Nope. I think they're going to put him in right along with Abreu. And if Durant stays with the team, and I think that's a big if now, at least in my opinion, I think he plays left because you cut down on the number of things he can do wrong. Okay, defensively. Okay. All right. Look, Verdugo played an excellent right field for you last year. He came up with some big hits. So you lose in that regard. But what you gain, I think, is in the clubhouse. Okay. By the end of the last year, he when he shot his way out of town, he proved he's a cement head, right? I mean, as I said when he got traded, AC is going to be shipping down, an 18-wheel trailer full of Tylenol, and he'll be picking up Booney's bar bill when he goes down to New York. It's like he's your problem now. Yeah, you like what he did in the field, but sometimes it could be addition by subtraction. And you know what? Abreu, I wasn't sure what he was going to look like when he came up at the end of the season, but You know what? If he was your everyday right fielder and he performed kind of like what he did at the end of the season, I'd be okay with that. He or O'Neill, So, yeah, I mean, certainly defensively, I think perhaps if you put O'Neill out there, it'll be slightly better than Doogie, but we'll see.
I'm gonna have to go. It's a downgrade, in my opinion.
Overall, yes, but I think
overall, I think it's a downgrade. And to touch on the Doogie thing, like how he left was unprofessional.
No.
But when and it seemed to me, like, I don't know everything, I'm not in the clubhouse, but just from when you're being singled out day in and day out, it's either A, you're a problem, or B, you're the scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
Because the not hustling, there's plenty of players, you're paying a player $300 million, and he doesn't hustle down to first base all the time, and he never gets benched. He sits there and doesn't understand or know when to glove a ball and when to barehand the ball coming to third base at an angle. You never bench him, So it's either A, you're a scapegoat, or B, you're an actual problem, or there could be maybe a gray area of both. But it's something that defensively, that, man, we just, it's crazy. Like, we're that's a big loss. His run saved was astronomical last year for us. So, overall, George, what are you thinking? Do you think we improved enough overall? Like, I'm thinking it's going to be close to last year, maybe a slight uptick. But, man, with us losing JD Martinez overall as of right now, I think it's only a barely slight uptick from a push.
I think defensively, you're markedly better up the middle by putting Rafaela in center field and Story back for a full season. Offensively, you're a couple of guys on 1-year deals. Those are the guys that generally perform really well. I think O'Neill's, he'll play his heart out. You got a couple of young players who want to stick. Yeah, I mean, offensively, more or less the same. Maybe a few less home runs, but you're going to get more people on base and you get better speed. Okay, so I think you're going to have to manufacture some runs. Defensively, I mean, you certainly couldn't be any worse than last year. So,
yeah. So let's sit there and talk a little bit about AC. AC, bam, had a little interview this past week.
Something we talk about it, but it hasn't happened, right? We still got a few weeks before opening day, right? In 2018, we were lacking the same thing, and 2 weeks into the spring training, boom, that happened, right? So, these people are working hard. They're trying to trade for people, sign people, you name it, they done it. It's not lack of work. It just hasn't happened. So.
On that note, with what they do upstairs, I mean, do you call it surprising maybe at this point, in February with the amount of talent still out there in the free agent market?
I think that's where we at as a business, right? It's not only us. It's 26 or 27 other teams out there that, if you look at what they've done, what have they done, right? And as an industry, there's another topic. We got a lot of days here. We can talk about it. It's been very slow. right now, there's a guy in the West Coast that he's controlling the market, right? And he's been really good at what he does throughout the years. And at one point, news are going to come out.
Finished product is the roster right now in your mind?
Close, but not close, right? It's only February 13th, and a lot of things can happen before opening day. Like I said, we still got a few weeks to go, and it's not over.
Yeah. So, George, what are your thoughts? Do you think AC was just there to take a bullet and he kind of repeated himself over and over again? So, do you think he was just there to bite the bullet for the brass above, or do you really think there's a possibility that we get somebody like we did late February with JD Martinez a couple years ago?
Honestly, this is the Scott Boras disease, and he referenced Scott in that statement. There's somebody out there controlling the situation who's been very successful at it. Everybody remembers that JD Martinez didn't walk in until sometime in March, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said this a couple of weeks ago, I think. I'm surprised the pitchers are putting up with this. I mean, those are the guys that need spring training early to kind of get acclimated, get squared away, work with new catchers, work with new pitching coaches. I mean, yeah, they're veterans and everything, but still, get acclimated, find your way in the clubhouse and things like that. So that's why I'm surprised that Snell and Montgomery haven't pulled Boras aside and said, look, come up with a constructive and inventive way to get me on a ball club so I can get my stuff together, right? Listen, the way that contracts have been constructed, contracted in this offseason with opt-outs and things like that,
mm-hmm.
You can construct yourself a decent contract in which you have control over your future, and with the lack of good pitching and things like that, these two guys are in the driver's seat. But the Boris's big thing is hold off for the top dollar. Hold off for the top dollar. Like I said before, pitchers are creatures of habit, man. So. Yeah, I expect something's got to break. Okay, I mean, you're not going to go into the start of the season with the Boras 5 still out there. All right. So
yeah, not only do you have Montgomery, Snell, but you have Chapman, you have Bellinger, like
JD Martinez.
Yeah, like you have all these, So I do like, and I am not one for Rob Manfred at all, but Rob Manfred went on the record. He's saying he would prefer to have a free agency signing period. Yep. Ideally in December with a deadline. You
heard it here first. You heard it here first, right?
Yeah. I would sit there and love to sit there and have a free agency period.
Mm-hmm.
Have it before February 1st. So if the pitchers and catchers, boom, they can sit there and sign. I was reading a little more into this. Manfred said that he tried. MLB tried to implement this. Players Association wanted nothing of it. Nothing. Yep. Because they don't want to have and you would think, why wouldn't they? We can drag this out. No, you're only hurting the team and you're hurting your value.
Correct.
Because yeah, I understand it's a business, it's about money, but if every free agency it takes you to March to sign, what's the problem?
Right.
There's all these teams: Montgomery, the Phillies, the Red Sox, the Rangers. Come on now. There's 3, 4, 5 teams all willing to want to sign them, and with a free agency signing period, you would think have a free agency signing period start at winter weekend.
Mm-hmm.
or winter meetings, and have it go for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Give it 3 weeks.
Well, in 2023 or 2022, the winter meetings heading into the 23 season, there were deals going off left and right. Not so much this past year.
Exactly.
And you know what? The whole idea of a date, it hasn't hurt the NBA. It hasn't hurt the NFL. All right. When the free agency period's open there, the NBA, you know what happens. Like this guy happens and this guy signs, and the NFL, the same thing. Bang, 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 bang. All right. This is more Scotty Boris's ego than anybody else's. I mean, you're starting to see it with the next tier of players who are free agency. Merrifield signed with the Phillies today, right? Smart move. Mm-hmm. Deal with Dave does it again, right? As I said, if I was his client, I'd say, look, I want to put my roots down. I want to get about my business. Let's go. Let's go.
So George, let's sit there and Nesson was able to sit down with Andrew Bailey. So let's sit there and hear what the questions they asked.
Looking at the bigger picture, take us through that process a little bit. How do you identify these things? What do you look for in a guy to try to get him to where he has been at his best in his career?
Yeah, I think you can look through it from a multiple of lenses, from a biomechanics standpoint, from a usage standpoint, from a shape standpoint, pitch shape standpoint, from a totality of an arsenal. Arsenals, adding a pitch isn't always the solve. Sometimes subtracting a pitch and using your other weapons a little bit more. So first off, taking like an understanding of strikeout, walk, and damage, and understanding what we're trying to solve for, whether it be lefty damage or righty strikeouts or walk rates, understanding what we need to problem solve, and then taking a look under the hood at each individual pitch type, from an output standpoint, from the metrics and from the results as well. So blending all that together, connecting with medical and strength and conditioning on how they're moving, our biomechanics group, and helping them understand what the best version of themselves look.
Yeah. So George, what did you think about Andrew Bailey? Like, there's a lot that goes into it. Like being. We've talked to so many pitchers, George, you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Theo, CT, Hoppy, Maceo Campbell, Mike Carista even. And even, going and talking to Steve Ferrari a little bit, because you got to be able to know both sides of it, when we're talking about one of the greatest hitters of all time with Ted Williams. Mm-hmm. So, but, you think about it, there's a lot that goes in there. And, the biometrics, he said, it's not, sometimes it's not just adding a pitch. Sometimes you got to take away a pitch to make the other ones more effective. So do you think that our pitching staff that we have now, Tanner Houck, he was a two-pitch pitcher trying to start games, that maybe they're looking at him to bring a third pitch in. We talked to Theo, and he was working on a slider and stuff like that. So do you think that with bringing Bailey in, having Breslow, and then just dissect each pitcher we have and try to help the mechanics, help the biometrics, and help the stats elevate, that could also give us an advantage of, we didn't go out and get you a Jordan Montgomery or Blake Snell. But if we're going to fix each pitcher, make him 20% better, 25% better, to go out there and eat more innings, do you think that could be a huge benefit for us in the long run?
Oh, sure. I mean, pitching is a craft, okay? But there's so many factors that go into it. Strength and conditioning, the ability to put the ball where you want it to go. As you said, sometimes it's not adding a pitch. Sometimes it's, if you say you're throwing 5 pitches and you should really only be throwing 4 and concentrating on mixing those up because those 4 happen to be your best, then you do that. Okay. They boiled it down to a science, and they started that with the guys that they've hired in the background. All right. And Bailey's already demonstrated when he was in San Francisco, he can turn some guys around. All right. And that is huge. I mean, you stop and take a look at the Red Sox rotation last year. Beginning of the year, Pivetta was not having his best. They put him in the bullpen. He kind of goes in that hybrid role, develops that sweeper at some point, and suddenly he has taken his game to a new level and has put himself back in the starting rotation. And not only he's acknowledged it, the club has acknowledged it as well. Maybe Bailey is kind of like the pitching whisperer, gets in these guys' heads and says, if you do this, let's do it. Let's watch. And that's the thing I'm excited to see with these spring training games, especially with comparing the guys that we had on the staff last year, the Winkowskis, right? That they want to try to make him a starter. He's certainly got the stuff to be a starter. He throws hard and he can place the ball where he wants. We talked about it last year. Perhaps he's a setup guy, right? Don't know. But he's got a good arm. How? There's a piece of me that still thinks he belongs in the bullpen, right? They want to see what they can do to improve it. Because what killed them last year was starting pitching, right? You had Paxton who ran out of gas because he hadn't pitched in 2.5 years, right? Corey Kluber, God love him, have a nice retirement, buddy. All right, he just never brought it to the game, right? So you're going with two openers in late July and early August. You're setting your bullpen on fire at that point. You're never going to recover. Innings are important, and that's why last year I was such a defender of Nick Pivetta, because he was an innings eater. Last year he was number 2 on the staff behind Bayo, and he would have been number 1 had he stayed in the rotation.
And George, let's sit there and bring this up. Alex Cora was asked if Nick Pivetta has separated himself from the pack of Whitlock, Alk, and Crawford. His answer was a resounding yes. He says Pivetta looks as good as he's ever seen him. So, as of right now, he could be our number 3. You know what I mean? And that is fantastic to see that, because man, like I love that. And you brought up,
I'm a huge fan of his. Okay, but yeah, he has separated. He showed it when he came back, and when he had that slide, when he came back with that slide, that thing was lights out. So he belongs in the rotation again.
Do you think it would be wrong, George? Okay, we try to stretch out Wink. Okay, but now, and on the roster we have, say we got Bayo, Giolito, Pivetta, Cutter Crawford.
Yep.
Okay. Then you got Winkowski. You got Whitlock. You got Halk. You got 7 people that you could possibly use as a starter and still have a great bullpen, because you got Chris Murphy, you got Bernardino, you got Martin, you got Jansen, you got Schreiber. Like you got a good bullpen still, but hey, Cutter Crawford or Giolito need an extra day off. Okay, fine. We'll throw Winkowski in there. You know what I mean? And let him take 5-6 innings. Like, do you think something like that would be a benefit for them, to where they're not eating up their bullpen, but they're also not pushing the starters if they know they can't go 3, if they can't go 5, 6, 7 innings and they can only go 2 or 3, why sit there and waste a start on them where they could get eaten up?
I think one of the things Bailey's going to try to introduce to the staff is pitching efficiency. Okay. Bayo threw, I think, 157 innings last year.
Mhm.
His next step should be 170. All right.
I would think 175.
Fine. But in that area, Pavetta,
Mhm.
180. Giolito, 180. Okay. Now, you said it quite a few times. Cutter Crawford, take the training wheels off. Okay. Does he benefit from a different person in his ear? Say, hey, you know what? Start, mix it up a little bit better. Start throwing this a little bit more. You become more effective. Okay. Getting first pitch strikes and, pitch to contact if you have to. Your defense is going to be better. But yeah, I think they've got to have a solution to have a 5-man rotation with 2 guys that can do swing duty. And Whitlock is not one of those guys. He belongs in the bullpen. He's a little bit fragile. Okay, and I'd rather see him in short bursts doing well than trying to stretch him out and have him get injured or whatever. He's a great athlete and all the rest, but I think he's better in a short in a short description of what he's going to do than he is as a starter.
Yeah, last year, Cutter Crawford 129.1 innings. So, in my opinion, his next one's 150, 155, something like that. So,
by all those numbers going up, Ritt,
mm-hmm.
It means that your bullpen numbers come down. Okay, you're not burning guys out. They stay fresher. They don't suddenly after 2 days use. You might be able to start some of them on 3 if they absolutely needed to, but you get the mixture in there, so no guy gets overworked, and that's the key. And we know that AC is a bullpen burner. He can't help it. All right, it's just part of what he is. So the best way to protect that against that is to have starters who can give you some protection. And if you're only having to protect 3 innings at the end of the game, it's easier than trying to protect 4. Much better if you're only trying to protect 2.
Yeah.
But if you can get somewhere between 2 and 3 innings that you're protecting at the end of the game, you're already way ahead of the game.
So, well, George, our time is up for this week on the Pesky Podcast. So, guys, make sure you check us out tomorrow night on at BSEN 617 over on YouTube, where we'll be doing our BSEN roundtable, where we're going to be covering not only the Red Sox and talking, we're going to be talking about the Patriots, we're going to talk about the draft, we're going to be talking about the Bruins, we're going to be talking about the Celtics. We're going to be talking about all of our Boston sports needs. Not only that, make sure you head on over to our at BSEN .square.site. Here is the QR code to where, bam, there we go. Scan that QR code, get on over, get a merchandise. Bam, you can get yourself your Hulkamania shirt. We just dropped a brand new Devers World Order shirt. So we got some great merchandise there. And make sure you sit there and tell everybody, follow us and subscribe to us. You never know what we're going to be having. So, George, any final thoughts?
No, this is great to finally talk. We get excited to see some real baseball starting soon. I'm excited. Hopefully the logjam of free agency ends soon and we can talk about all of that. But yeah, it's good to finally talk baseball in depth again. So
yeah. So guys, make sure you check us out next week. Next week is our 1-year anniversary show, which, good Lord, I can't believe DC, myself, and you, George, have been doing this for a year. I'm actually proud of that because most podcasts end covering a sport during the off season. We was able to truck through. We've gained a lot, and I mean a lot of friendships along the way. So, and we're going to be going through some of those down memory lane next year. So, but for the OG George Sutherland and myself, the Ritt, check us out next time on the Pesky Podcast.